All right, got my refill ready to go. Morning, everybody. See Tim Peck, how you doing? Richard, how you doing? That's who's on my feed right now. I guess not another. We're back to typical April weather I see this morning. Went outside in shorts and a t-shirt and realized that it is no longer shorts and a t-shirt weather. Rain and snow. So I guess that's to be expected. Anyway, episode 9, Maundy Thursday. This is one for me that this will eventually be. Good morning, Jackie. This is probably gonna, after the Easter stuff is over and my anxiety series is over, I want to do a series called Viral Lessons. I'm talking about a sermon for Polaris, and it's funny because when I originally planned it, I thought we'd be back in. We'd certainly be back in, and this will all be behind us. And now I realize that this is all just getting started in many ways. So this is kind of material that's been in my head. This is one of those particular ones. Like a lot of times, this thing, well, so far the first 8 episodes have been just like quick devotional thoughts. But this is one that probably needs to go a little deeper than that, and I haven't had a lot of time to prep for it. So in the words of the prophets, we'll keep a stiff upper lip and shoot from the hip. So this all started, I remember on March 2nd, so a little over a month ago, I had gotten on a plane and went to Florida and went to spend some time with some friends and mentors, and was landed and went by myself to Disney Springs to Earl of Sandwich, which is just some of the best sandwiches that I've ever had. And I had my sandwich, and I'm sitting there in Disney Springs, and it was like 75 degrees and sunny, and the place was packed. And then March 12th rolled around and changed everything, didn't it? I woke up March 12th, minding my own business. It seemed like there was a little more. Morning, Mac. Scott, hello. Good to see you, man. It seemed like the virus stuff was starting to spiral a little bit, but I don't think I could have ever imagined that my kids would probably be getting off the bus that day for the last time. We made the decision that day to be done with Sunday morning church for a while in the building. And good morning, Trish. But I was thinking to myself that you could have never, if you would have told me when I was sitting there in Disney Springs on March 2nd, that 2 weeks from then, school would be done probably for the year. Sunday morning gathering church would be done for the foreseeable future. Major League Baseball would be canceled. Good morning, April. NBA would be postponed indefinitely. March Madness would be canceled. Disney Springs that I was sitting in and was packed would be shut down. I would have probably thought we got nuked. Like I don't even think I could have imagined a different, like what in the world happened? Did Canada have a nuclear program we didn't know about? How would all of that be shut down in a matter of a couple weeks? But here we are. And this has brought such a huge disruption, and it's a good opportunity for us to sort of reevaluate. So I have 2 numbers that I track on our whiteboard in our meeting room when we have our staff meeting this time of year. I do this countdown starting in January of weeks until Easter and weeks until Mother's Day, because that represents, like in terms of a ministry season, Polaris is a church with not many retirees, not a lot of senior citizens, and so the vast majority of our people are people with kids in the house. And you have this run until, well, Easter obviously being one of the biggest Sundays of the year, probably the biggest Sunday of the year, which is important for us to have on our radar. But then there's Mother's Day, and after Mother's Day, things just scatter because there's baseball, there's soccer, there's camping, there's vacations, and people have trailers and things, different places that they go to on the weekends, and it just kind of disappears for a little bit, at least the typical Sunday morning crowd. And so each week we see the progression of as it counts down. And all of a sudden, after March 12th, I was in that meeting room, gathering some things to take home because I knew we're probably going to be doing some things out of the house now. And it hit me, those numbers all of a sudden, they mean absolutely nothing. I mean, it doesn't matter now how many weeks are until Easter, and it doesn't matter how many, because everything just got blown up. Nobody's really going out anywhere until the government says so, until it makes sense to do so. It was one of those jarring moments where you realize nothing is the same right now. And so this is a good opportunity for us to evaluate our metrics. Like my metrics may have been weeks till Easter and weeks until Mother's Day. What are your metrics? What are our metrics? What are the things that we're after? What were the things that were important to us? And then when all of this subsides, are we going to go back to living that way, or are there changes that we need to make? Because when I talk to people, what I am seeing is there is a glimpse of this that's like, this is exposing some things about the old ways that may not have been ideal. And we're going to have to decide, do we want to go back? There's in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think that's Covey, Stephen Covey. He says that, he talks about defining the win or knowing what you're after. And good morning, Norma. How you doing, Wade? Good to see you guys. He gives the illustration of somebody up in the crow's nest, and there's people down on the ground that are clearing a field, and they're at it. They're just hacking the field away, clearing the brush, clearing the trees, and the guy up in the crow's nest yells down, "Hey, you're clearing the wrong field!" And they say, "Shut up! We're making good progress." And so we have this culture of crazy busyness, and this is a chance for someone up in the crow's nest to say, "Hey, are you sure you're being busy for the right things?" And we're going to have to respond, yes, this is intentional, or are we going to take the advice and make some changes? So I just kind of want to talk through some of that this morning. It's Maundy Thursday, and we'll talk about what that means, and we'll talk about how we can take the Maundy Thursday principles that Jesus teaches and apply it to our own life. Love to see Norma. Wade, got you motivated. That's if you're motivated for this, that's meaningful to me. Alicia, hello. Annette, hello. We're talking about how the recent events are an opportunity for us to reevaluate what's really important and what are the things that we're being busy for. So, and then also there's this very biblical narrative of, will we press on to something new, or will we turn back? One of the earliest stories in the Bible when it all gets going is the Israelites being freed from slavery. And they have these moments as they move into the wilderness toward the promised land where they continually ask, you know what, let's just go back. It was just easier. Slavery was more predictable. There was less open. There was less to figure out. Let's just go back. And we're going to have that because this is going to disrupt everything. And then we're going to learn some new things. We might see a vision for something we want to be instead. But there'll always be that temptation to go back. So, golden opportunity for us to reorder our future, to intentionally decide what are our new metrics, what are our new numbers, what do we want to go after. So, just wrote down some previous values. I think our cultural previous values. Things like productivity, oftentimes just for the sake of productivity. Like, productivity systems and getting stuff done. And a lot of times it really was just for the sake of getting things done. Are we going to go back to that? Winning, huge American value, isn't it? Winning and stats and increasing the number and getting better and breaking the record. Winning. This is a winning. That's why youth sports is huge, because we are about winning. Kids' school stats versus the world. I see it all the time where we're tracking the way our kids are performing in school against everybody else's. And I remember reading a post about a guy that was just ranting of, we need to win at everything, and there's no reason that our kids can't win at everything and beat any other nation. And I'm like, there's some other nations that are going to do some things to kids to get the number, and we got to decide, is that something we want to do? And so winning, huge. Getting our kids to win at everything, huge. Getting the A's and getting the grades and having our kids do well at A's and grades and tests. American dream stuff. The picket fence, the nicer car, the nicer house, the nicer neighborhood. Michael Perlate, how you doing, man? Huge part of our cultural values. Our kids thriving. Like if you're a parent like me, a lot of the time you're evaluating, is my kid doing as well as other kids in these cultural values. Social status. In the Facebook world of look how great things are. And man, parents, we do this all the time where we post, we just had some knockdown, drag out, horrible fight with our kids. But what goes on Facebook is, look at my kid who did the thing. I was, it was one of those days during this lockdown season where it was, as a parent, you just have some of those days where you're just like, you know what, whatever, just don't kill each other down there. But Elijah and Spencer, they were just at it on PS4, and it was like, just a foggy mess down here in the basement where they were, because they were just there all day, and one of our Facebook friends had posted a picture of their kid out doing something productive. And I then used that as like, Elijah, look at such and such, man. They're out doing, and he looked at me, he was like, they've been on PlayStation with me the whole day. They weren't out there doing that. And I realized, okay, that's the way it works, and I'm just as guilty as anyone. So anyway, all those things that we are typically after. And then you might have your own list. And this is a really good time to evaluate, man, what are you after? What are your values? So we got society's general values. We have our own personal values. And then, but to evaluate that, you really need to use your checkbook. We don't have checkbooks anymore. Your online, I just dated myself there. Your online ledger, your online statement, and your calendar, your old calendar that actually was filled with stuff. That's how you tell what you value. And you look at what you value and you realize, okay, these are the things that I was living for. Now, on to Maundy Thursday, why it's so important, why it's more important now than it's ever been, and how it can help us reevaluate how we want our future to be when all this virus stuff is behind us, and we have a chance to redo our schedules and redefine what is it that we're going to be living for. So this comes out of Mark 10. I'm going to skip forward from where we were over the past few episodes. Excuse me. So I'm going to start down in 24. Now, this isn't Maundy Thursday stuff. The next verse we're going to look at is Maundy Thursday stuff. And then just, if you're brand new to this, there's Holy Week. Starts with Palm Sunday. Then there's Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and then Easter Sunday. So this is the first of those days, Maundy Thursday. Okay, but this is before we get to that. I am in verse 42. And Jesus called them to, now these are his disciples. This is at the end of his run with his disciples before the crucifixion. So they should know better, okay? And they're fighting for who's the greatest. That's the context for this, is they want to be labeled who's the greatest. And Jesus called them to him and said to them, you know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them. He's talking about Roman leadership. And their great ones exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you, for whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man, now that's the Son of Man again, where that's basically Jesus saying, even God in human form came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So there you have God telling you his definition of greatness. Now, we might not like to hear it. I don't like to hear this. But if we're going to redefine our future, redefine what we're running after when all this subsides, where better could we look to see what true greatness is, what's really worthwhile to invest in, than God's definition of greatness? And God's definition of greatness is what? Servanthood. He says, even when I was a human here, Jesus, I didn't come to be served. I didn't come to lord it over anybody. The Creator here, God Almighty here, I didn't flaunt that. I came to serve. And if you want to be great, you serve. Now, parents, let's look at the energy. And I am at the front of the line, okay, with this. This is brutal for me. If you want to compare the Poindexter online bank statement and the Poindexter calendar and look at our parenting, Jesus says, if you want to make your kids great, you teach them to serve. Because greatness is defined by servanthood. I spend way more energy on my kids' batting averages, on their baseball, on their scholastic achievements, things like that. Way more energy with that, way more time with that than I do servanthood. And I evaluate things differently because, like, let's just say that Elijah said, Dad, okay, let me say that a different way. If I project out 10 years from now, and I'm at a social gathering with all of you and my other friends from all over the place, and we're all swapping stories about what our kids are doing. And you're like, my kid's a doctor, my kid's a lawyer, my kid's whatever. And I have two options. Let's say there's one of my kids, their future is they're either going to be a professional baseball player or CEO of Fortune 5, something like wow. Or they are going to clean up bathrooms at a homeless shelter. When I'm telling people what my kid does, I would, if I'm honest, kind of wince. My kid cleans up bathrooms in a homeless shelter. But if you look at Jesus' definition of greatness, like if I really want my kid to be great, we should be coming up with a plan for that. It's like, okay, this is how you work in nonprofit, and this is how you manage on almost no money. This is how you make pancakes and macaroni and cheese and bologna sandwiches so that you can serve in a nonprofit, make next to nothing, and serve the least of these, because Jesus says that is how you can be great. Like, if I wanted to really take this serious, there's a lot in there for myself, for parenting, for us, as we reevaluate what is it going to look like when we get the all clear and can now re-engage. Are we going to fill our schedules up with, have you looked at your, like when I look at my phone calendar schedule, it's weird to see entire days that get skipped. Like, I thought there was something wrong with my schedule. I didn't realize that if there's nothing on that day, it doesn't appear in your phone scroll schedule. And then I realized that's because there's never a day without something like there is right now. And that's all going to change. And how are we going to rebuild that schedule? Good morning, James. So that's one thing. That's Mark 10. We're talking about, if you just joined in, we're talking about what are we going to do to rebuild our schedule? What are we going to build around when this virus stuff is behind us and we have a chance to decide, okay, version 2.0, what do I want to run after? What do I want to live for? What do I want to schedule my time around? Am I going to go for a different kind of life, or am I going to just return back to where I was? I should be at 6 things already by 9 o'clock. So let's talk about Maundy Thursday now. The word Maundy Thursday, again, this is Holy Week, and Maundy Thursday is the day of Holy Week. It's the Thursday of Holy Week, and the word Maundy comes from the word like mandate, and it goes back to a moment when Jesus says, a new command or a new mandate I give you. So this is in John 13. So I'm going to skip forward to John 13. And it is verse 34. Verse 34. Jesus says, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. So, when Jesus envisions this movement that he's coming to start, he says, more than anything else, there is one thing I want to be true of my followers. It's what? It's love. So we see those two pillars for greatness that Jesus lays down. Two foundational pursuits. Love and servanthood. A new command I give you. Love one another. Jesus says, from now on, anything you've heard doesn't matter. What matters now is how well you love each other and have love for each other. So, if we're going to reshape our future and rethink our future past all of this, now that we have a very rare lull in a schedule, there'll probably never be, and I was telling my boys this the other day, there will probably never be a time in the rest of our lives where we have this crazy lull in silence and stillness. Will we turn back to the old pursuits, to busyness for the sake of busyness, to winning, to productivity, to better car, better house, those kinds of things? Or will we change things and aspire to something new? And if we aspire to something new, I think we should consider Jesus' definition of greatness and Jesus' how he frames up the meaning of life, and that is the two pillars of love and servanthood. And we evaluate where we head around that. So, Thursday, Maundy Thursday, remembering back to the commandment that Jesus gave, the mandate that Jesus gave, love one another. And hopefully as you begin to just process, because we're all processing this internally, as you process, man, something's different now. As we process this crazy disruption, and as we contemplate the way things were, and certainly grieve some of the way, I miss sports, I miss my Thai restaurants and things like that, but there's also, there's something in me that's like, man, you can kind of see some of the downfall in the way we were living. And it's a great time for us to say, what's going to be next for me? And if we're really trying to figure out what's going to be next for me, I think we should start with what God says are the pillars to build our life around, love and servanthood, and move forward from there. So I hope that you'll take some time this Maundy Thursday and think about that commandment and think about Jesus' definition of greatness, and maybe rebuild some things and come up with a vision and reimagine the future built around Jesus' definition of greatness. So have a good Maundy Thursday. Enjoy your Easter weekend, and I will see you back here on... Well, actually, let me give a shameless plug. I hope that you'll see me, and I'll chat back and forth with you on Sunday, 11 a.m. Go to PolarisChristian.com, or right here, Facebook. We'll stream it on Facebook. I'll host a watch party on my page of our Easter service. Marcus is watching right now. He's been killing it, getting stuff ready for it. I'm super excited about it. It's going to be good for the whole family. If you're going to drag your kids to watch a church service, I think there'll be something in it for everybody, and I hope that you'll join in this Sunday, 11 a.m., for the Polaris Christian Church virtual Easter service. Have a good rest of the week.